13, 2019, and we are ending the sprint, the 3-week sprint 19. So already last time we are a bit above 1 year of development now in Kiali, which is a great milestone. Today, Lucas is going to start the presentation, followed by Mike. So Lucas, if you're ready, you can share your screen. Get started.
Hello, can you see my screen?
Yep, works.
Okay, great. I would like to present 3 main features that we have been working on this sprint. It could be really interesting to demo them. So the first feature that I would like to show is the improvement that we have with the Jagger integration within Kiali. As you know, Kiali tries to show or to describe the observability of your microservices within the service mesh. And one important feature is to integrate to services with tracing, with distributed tracing, okay, and more specifically with Jagger. So we are starting doing some integrations, just linking from Kiali to the Jagger website. But now we can see, for example, I have examples in the project in my machines. Okay, and if I want also to show the animation of the book info example with additional product page and user region. And now the interesting feature is that when I click in one specific service, okay, to get more details, I can also to get more involved metrics, but now I have close or more couple integration with Jagger. So the first thing that I can see is that in the tab in Jagger, we are just showing if we have some trace with error, right? And when we click here in the tab, we can see how directly we can filter with the Jagger console, okay, but integrated within Kiali, and also sharing the same controls from Kiali. I can, for example, modify the search from Kiali. I can adjust the criteria usage for searching, right? This is something that I can modify from here. The minimum spare, I can just try to put 1 milliseconds to 20 milliseconds and reduce the limits right here. So I can perform this search, and this is integrated in with Kiali for, you know, easy just to check. Okay, I want to span in this time interval, but I will also to correlate what happened in this time interval for with specific services and with a specific time interval between the metrics and with all the information together, right? This is quite interesting. Also, I can to show how we can integrate within the namespace in the distributed tracing. When I have this integration set up correctly, so I can also just to integrate I can propagate the namespace which I selected in graph, in application workloads, but also propagate this selection into Jagger just to improve the searching and improve the correlation between components. This is one of the features. Question, how to check if I define correctly the integration between Jagger? It's quite simple. What we need to go is to check in the about. Okay, we need to tell Kiali where Jagger is exposed, because the external URL may change depending on your installations. And the only thing that we need to do is, you know, to update the config map, the Kiali config map, and just to modify the URL with the root where you are exposing your Jagger system. This is something in the next sprints we will work to auto-discover these URLs. But at the moment, you need just to update it in your environment to install this feature. Okay, the next feature that we would like to show, to demo, is related to the runtime. So in the previous sprints, we presented that now Kiali can extend the observability not only in the Istio components, in the service mesh components, in the telemetry that are reported by the service mesh, but also we introduce the integration with metrics that are provided by the runtimes that are running inside your pods. This is what we call runtime monitoring. And we can also to integrate it with them. By default, we have prepared a set of dashboards that can just define by out of the box within Kiali. And the only thing is just to make the configuration. This is one runtime, but this is a feature that is completely extensible, that so users can provide their own runtime dashboards. And we can see this running, for example, in an example, a book info runtimes example that we just try to create a new version of the book info, but using different runtimes. And for example, in this case, we have a workload, details workload that is running in a Spring Boot. And we can see that now, in addition to the inbounds and the outbound metrics that are provided by the service mesh, the Istio telemetry, we can see now that we can fetch specific metrics that are running inside the container. In this case, for example, we can see metrics from the Tomcat metrics, the sessions, just by sense, or the Java virtual machine metrics, by the heap, the memory consumption, and so on. Another example could be, for example, this one, the product page workload, which is based in Untitled runtime, and we can see how the dashboard is putting a specific metrics for this runtime. And in this case, we can show that this is completely different. So this is something configurable. This is something that the user can just to create its own runtime metrics and can be provided just with the in an extension of the Kiali metrics that we can show. For this one, we can show how we are providing Node.js metrics, okay, with the specific metrics for this runtime. And in this other metrics, we can show that we are using a runtime based on Vertex for this review. And we can see how the dashboard is adding a specific metrics for Vertex service metrics or the client, right? So this is was commented. This runtimes dashboard are by default created, but this is something that there is an API, and this is a way to create your own dashboards. And we can also to encourage to the community also to provide more dashboards definitions for Kiali integration. The last feature that I would like to present today is related to some change in the wizards. As you know, we started to. So let me to show the scenario. So we started to add the possibility to create new Istio configurations based on wizards. So driven by wizard for more easy displayment. So let me to show the percentage. Okay. In this case, I would like just to add some routing for the review services. And if I click in the review services and I go to the action, I can see that now I have a new wizard available for these services. In this case, I want to create the first one. I create wizard routing. And I can see that now I have some change in the wizard. For example, one of the first change is that I can also to set up one slider, and I can pin the slider to block the slider. So in this case, the fixed slider are fixed, and is for usability terms is more easy just to combine the other one, right? In this case, for example, I can just to set 50% of the traffic to my first review workload, and the other two I can balance between 10 and 40%, right? Also, I can show advanced options if I want to set up some TLS, which is automatically if I have my TLS enabled for globally, I can also automatically set up this settings for you, but I can also to add the specific load balancer settings and so on, right? In this case, I can create it, and yeah, you can see that the virtual services is created with all the ways that I prepare, and also the destination rules is also populated for you, right? And if I go back to my graph, I can see now the reviews is set up, and as long as the telemetry is updating, I will see how the percentage on the services is. Right. I would like also to create the new one, a new routines in the product page. If my example, you can see that the product page is invoked by two workloads, two different workloads representing two different regions, okay, where are invoking the product page. And in this case, I would like to do something more complex, like what we call matching routine. So on this case, I want to discriminate or to move the region one traffic that coming that is mapping with a header in the request. Okay, I want to just to map it to the product page one, right? And I can create a rule for that. And the region two, I want to add them to the product page two. So I created two routines, okay, two matching routines that all the headers region one will go to product page version one, and all the requests that are matching the header region to region two will go to the product page version two. Okay, I can do this. Okay, so now I can check that this is created by two routes. All the traffic with this matching is going to this destination, and all the second traffic with this other matching is going to the second product page workload. How to check that? So if we go to the services now, and for example, we go to the product page, inbound metrics, I can check that this is the request volume. If I filter by remote application, I can check that now is, now is I have all the traffics coming from the two versions. So when the traffic is now working, if I go to, for example, to one workload, and I say to filter by applications, okay, I can see that now. For the workload, the product page version one, I will receive only users from the region one, and user for region two will be stopped. And this will happen again with the product page two. So if I go to metrics and I want just to get me the metrics by applications, okay, I can see that now, for example, in the product page version two, I will get only metrics that coming for the user region two. So the matching route is working, and we can see now how it discriminates between the users. And okay, I guess those were the three features that I would like to show, and that's all for me. Thank you.
That was great. Thanks. Mike? Mike, you muted if you try to speak. Okay. Yeah, can hear you? Yes.
Share my screen here. Can you see my screen?
Yep. Wait, no, I don't. I mean, it's black. Oh, yeah, it's coming. It's here now.
You see it
You're
now?
good. Yeah, you're good to go. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so this sprint was a stabilization sprint, so it's mainly bug fixes and some important refactorings. First one up is the show server configs in the debug dialog. And what this is, we just added some additional things, like for instance, authentication config and the status config. Easiest, so we now can see what and this is for like support. So now we can tell like what the scrape interval is for Prometheus and the retention period and that important things, and also up top the authentication config, so you can see what kind of login strategies and stuff we're using there. Really important for support. Some other things just on like different browsers, fixing tooltips on Firefox and stuff. I won't go into some graph find and hide improvements. These are just keeps getting better, a little easier to understand and stuff. Now you can see that we actually have a nice explanation on of what find and hide actually is, and then the tabs have been broken out and just a little bit easier to read and understand all the tabs now. So just some nice UX iterations there. Don't show the lock on the grouping box. So this particular one, so this is the group box, and we had a big lock key on the group box in addition to on the actual nodes. That looks kind of strange. So there's no longer that on the grouping box now. This is one that was, again, it's another UX thing. So before, whenever there were error messages and stuff, it would actually go up into the console message box and the notification drawer. So it made it kind of difficult to see what's going on. So now this is localized to just the show and hide boxes. So it's really easy to see what errors and also the errors have been enhanced, so they're much more readable now as well. Blocking the console until all configs are retrieved. So we had some issues where sometimes before we get the server configuration stuff, we'd actually try and get namespaces and stuff like that when we didn't have that. So it was like an async type error. So we did some major refactoring on that, and now we don't have that issue anymore because all the server configs are retrieved first before we do any kind of query. Improved error messages for graph find hide. I talked about that one above. Removing the 5-second refresh interval, given that there's 15-second Prometheus scrape intervals. This one just makes sense because if the granularity of Prometheus is 15 seconds, then it really doesn't make any sense to try and fetch that data in 5-second intervals. Adding the duration control in the traffic pages. So in the traffic tab, now we have this duration, just like you see everywhere else. So that's just kind of a consistency thing now. Better support for smaller screen sizes. So we had some issues with when you move this on like laptops and stuff. Things looked poorly. They took up like multiple lines, and it didn't look very good at all. So that solves that problem. Session handling using cookies. So what this really means is, so we're now using cookies instead of for the tokens. So all of our APIs, obviously have authorization tokens. So we now have put those into cookies instead of having it in the browser local store. So anyway, it's a lot safer. Reflect current edge on, this one is interesting. This one's been bugging me for a long time. So we were a little bit inconsistent on like our labels and stuff. So like you'll see like graph type, was there, but on the other ones it wasn't. And then edge labels, we showed you edge labels, but we didn't show you the selection of the edge label. So now this brings it into more consistent. So now once you pick one of these, you can see on the screen without having to click into the actual drop-down to see what was selected. So I think that's a huge consistency issue. We had some issues that happened in certain situations where we're restoring things in Redux that was persisted to the browser local store. This data was then automatically loaded the next time the user launched Kiali in the browser instead of getting the values from the server. So it was getting like wrong data from the last session. So it was a tricky little error. Fixing blank traffic when there is no traffic, so at least now we have a nicer messages. Splitting up all the YAML, the dashboard files. So before we had one large all.yaml, it had all the dashboard stuff in it. Kind of confusing to look at. So at least now there's separate YAML files for all the different application frameworks. So like thorntail.yaml, vertex.yaml, that kind of. And just the build process will then put all that into a single YAML. If a secret is not yet created, it'll actually kind of like pull and wait for it. So a user can then actually go put their secret in and then log in right after that. It'll like wait for it and detect it. That's all I had.
Well, thanks. No one else going once? Twice? No? Okay, so that was planned. Okay, thanks everyone. Recording will be available. Thanks. Bye.